Welcome back to U.S. Command Intelligence. What is happening in the Persian Gulf right now is not a temporary spike in tension. It is not a routine deployment cycle, and it is not an isolated regional issue that will resolve quietly in the background of global politics. It is the visible phase of a structural shift in how power is being positioned, measured, and tested in one of the most strategically important regions in the world. U.S. warships are moving toward Iran, not symbolically, not as a political gesture, but as part of an operational posture that signals readiness across multiple domains of conflict. At the same time, Iran is not responding with large, visible escalation. There are no massive fleet movements. There are no public declarations of immediate confrontation. Instead, there is something far more significant: a controlled environment of pressure, a calculated posture of restraint, and a silent but critical factor shaping every military calculation in the region. The Khaibar Shekan missile system. Now, it is important to understand this clearly. No missile has been launched in this phase, but that does not reduce the seriousness of the situation. It increases it. Because modern conflict is no longer defined by the moment of impact. It is defined by the conditions created before impact becomes necessary. Before we go deeper, if you follow real geopolitical analysis and not surface-level narratives, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Because what we are breaking down here is the layer where decisions are made, not just reported. Now let us break this down systematically. The United States is deploying force in a structured, layered manner. Carrier strike groups are not just moving closer, they are positioning themselves to extend operational reach across the Gulf and beyond. Destroyers are not just escorting, they are expanding missile defense coverage, creating protective zones for both military and commercial assets. Surveillance systems are not just observing, they are mapping every movement, every signal, every shift in posture across the region in real time. This is not a single action, it is a system designed to operate under uncertainty, and more importantly, a system designed to respond immediately if uncertainty turns into escalation. Now consider the environment in which this system is operating. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a narrow waterway. It is one of the most critical strategic choke points in the global economy. A significant portion of the world's oil supply passes through this corridor every single day. Any disruption here is not local. It spreads instantly across global markets. Fuel prices react, supply chains adjust, economic projections shift. This is not just a military space. It is a global pressure point. Now shift perspective to Iran. Iran does not operate through direct symmetry. It does not respond by matching the United States ship for ship. Instead, it builds layered pressure environments. Naval units operate in proximity to commercial routes. Fast attack vessels create unpredictability. Surveillance networks monitor continuously. And above all, strategic capabilities remain in reserve. This is where the Khaibar Shekan becomes central. This missile is not just a technical asset. It is a strategic instrument. It is designed to operate in contested environments where traditional systems may face limitations. Its guidance architecture reduces reliance on external navigation systems. Its mobility complicates detection and targeting. Its deployment flexibility allows it to operate across a wide range of scenarios. But the most important aspect is not technical. It is psychological. The existence of this capability changes the decision-making environment, because every action taken by opposing forces must now account for the possibility of escalation at a level that is difficult to control once initiated. This is deterrence in its modern form, not simply preventing action, but shaping behavior. Now let us connect this to what is happening on the surface. Shipping through the Gulf is already under pressure. Movement is becoming cautious. Insurance costs are rising. Risk calculations are changing. This is not collapse. It is friction. And friction is the first stage of systemic stress, because global trade depends on predictability. When predictability is reduced, cost increases. When cost increases, pressure spreads outward, from shipping companies to energy markets to national economies. This is how a regional situation begins to affect the global system. Now introduce a key concept that defines modern conflict environments: system pressure. Every military system, no matter how advanced, operates within limits. Limits in response time, limits in processing capacity, limits, and coordination. Under normal conditions, these systems perform efficiently. Under increased pressure, they adapt. But when pressure exceeds capacity, performance begins to degrade. This is not a failure of technology. It is a reality of system design. And this is where modern conflict is evolving. Not through isolated engagements, but through sustained pressure that tests the limits of entire systems simultaneously. This is why missile capability matters even when it is not actively used, because it represents the next level of pressure. If escalation moves forward, the environment does not remain limited to naval interaction. It expands. Naval operations continue. Air operations increase. Missile systems enter the equation, all within compressed timeframes. This is the threshold that both sides are currently managing. Now, from the United States perspective, the challenge is balance. Maintain deterrence without triggering escalation. Project strength without creating instability. Preserve control while preparing for loss of control. This is not a simple equation. From the Iranian perspective, the strategy operates differently. Maintain pressure without crossing into full conflict. Preserve escalation capability. Control the pace of engagement. This creates a dynamic where both sides are operating within constraints, but those constraints are narrowing. Now expand the analysis beyond the region. China is observing energy flow stability. Russia is analyzing strategic positioning. Europe is evaluating economic exposure. Global markets are reacting not only to events, but to the possibility of events. Because in systems like this, perception drives behavior. If risk is perceived to increase, actions follow. And those actions have real consequences. Now we reach the central question. What breaks the balance? There are three realistic paths forward. The first is stabilization. Military presence reinforces deterrence. Shipping stabilizes. Tension decreases. The second is prolonged pressure. No direct conflict, but continuous disruption. Higher operational costs. Long-term instability. The third is escalation. A trigger event. A miscalculation. A rapid transition from controlled tension to active conflict. Right now, the system is positioned between prolonged pressure and escalation, and that is the most unstable position. Because when systems operate near their limits, even small events can produce disproportionate outcomes. A delayed response, a misunderstood signal, a localized engagement. Each has the potential to shift the entire system. The movement of U.S. warships is not just about presence. It is about positioning within a system under stress. The Iranian posture is not simply restraint. It is controlled leverage within that same system. And the presence of advanced missile capability ensures that escalation, if it occurs, will not remain contained. This is not a static situation. It is dynamic. It is evolving. It is interconnected. What happens in the Gulf affects global systems in real time. Energy markets, trade networks, security frameworks. This is why this moment matters, because it represents not just a regional tension, but a structural shift in how conflict is developing in the modern era. The question is not whether these systems are capable. The question is whether they can maintain stability under sustained pressure. Because if they cannot, the transition from tension to conflict will not be gradual. It will be sudden. And once that transition begins, controlling it becomes significantly more difficult. Drop your analysis in the comments. Do you believe this situation stabilizes, or does it move toward escalation? If this breakdown gave you real clarity, like, share, and subscribe. Stay sharp, stay informed, and we will see you in the next one.